Our name tag. Sorry, guys. There we go.
I don't think anyone noticed. Yeah, so tonight we want to take you through a little bit of our story over the last probably year and some of the kind of amazing things that God has done. So it all kind of started in 2008, I think spring or 2018, spring of 2018. I was out in the yard kind of doing some gardening, planting some bushes. You were somewhere. You weren't there.
I was probably inside with our newborn baby.
Yeah, probably.
That sounds about right.
And so I was outside with our 4-year-old and our 18-month-old. And we had a corner lot. This is our old house. We were on a corner lot, big. It was on an acre, just a huge front yard all the way around. And so I'm kind of in the front. And the kids are playing on the driveway, which is a really long driveway, but they're pretty close up to the house. And anyway, and so I'm kind of...
We lived on a main road.
Yeah, it was a main road, like
cut through road.
A cut through road that semis would drive down.
Yep.
And so anyway, so I'm sitting there kind of planting a bush, and I have my back to the kids, and I just sensed the Holy Spirit just kind of give you that nudge a little bit, where it's like, why don't you turn around and look at your daughter, your 18-month-old. And so I did. And as I turned around with shovel in hand, I see her running headlong towards the street as fast as she can. Now she's probably at this point, I don't know, 25, 30 yards away from the street. So she's a good distance, but I'm probably, I don't know, 70 yards from her, a good ways away from her. And she was really fast as an 18-month-old.
Hang on one second.
And
I'm gonna just flip this off, see if that helps.
She's just starting to run headlong down this driveway towards the street. And you have to know our driveway, one of the things that bothered us about this house was at the end of the driveway there were these two huge evergreen trees. So anybody driving down the street wouldn't see what's happening at the end of that street.
At the end of the driveway.
At the end of the driveway, yeah.
Right.
And so anyway, so she's just running headlong towards this. And so I start yelling. And as I'm yelling, I'm throwing down the shovel and just starting to run because I knew that she probably wasn't going to respond to me. She's just one of those strong
and she's
little girls. And
yeah.
she was 18 months at the time. And anyway, she's fast and she's just running headlong towards the street. I have no idea why, but she is. And so I'm now sprinting after her and, really far away. But anyway, so she's running. I'm running after her. I'm yelling. She's not listening to me. My 4-year-old's just standing there watching what do I do? I don't know what to do. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a school bus coming. And so school bus is coming, and that bus driver is completely oblivious to what's going on because of these big evergreen trees. It's like a wall, so he can't see anything that's happening.
Yeah.
And, and I'm running after her as fast as I possibly can. All the dad adrenaline, everything is all going. And I'm just chasing her down, trying to get her before she gets to that street. And, at this point you're having all these thoughts, why wasn't I paying more attention? Whatever, asking yourself all these questions and the terrible things that are coming to your mind. Am I going to have to bury my toddler? And so I'm just terrified and running as fast as I can. And so she just continues and just will not stop. And we get all the way down to about 3 feet from the street before I grab her. And I remember the school bus driver's face and the expression of relief when he had no idea what was about to happen, because he didn't see her or me grabbing her until the last second. We were right there because these big trees are there. And so anyway, so I grabbed her just right then, and I picked her up and scooped her up, and we had a talking to after that. But
as you can imagine,
it was one of those moments where it's so emotionally charged and where it's all right, I don't want to deal with this again. I don't want to have this happen again. And it was kind of the nail in the coffin for us.
So grateful also for the Lord.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That heads up, what would have happened if I didn't have the heads? I mean, if I would have been 10 seconds more, it's
you wouldn't have seen her.
5 seconds more, yeah. Anyway, it was one of those things. It just kind of was the nail in the coffin for us deciding that this house is not a good fit for our phase of life and our family situation right now.
Yeah.
Because we had already been talking about this. We had been talking about how we couldn't have a fence in this neighborhood, how there were no sidewalks. And so even when we had to walk on the street with our little kids.
Busy street with the semis.
School buses and semis coming down. And it's a neighborhood, so it's we should be able to walk on it. But these semis would cut through to save time. And anyway, And so we had already kind of felt like this just isn't working, but that was like kind of the thing where it's like, all right, it's time. Let's start looking.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we both kind of agreed. It's like, all right, let's start looking and see if we can find something that fits our neighborhood a little bit more. Like we didn't have a pool. Like all of our neighbors, because they were acre lots, were really far away, and they were all much older. And so there were no kids for the kids to play with, our kids to play with. And anyway, all this to say, we began looking for a house. And so we started going through the process, but you had just had Oliver.
Yes.
And so what was he, a month and a half, 2 months old?
2 months old, probably 2 months old.
And so we're trekking around with a
right.
4-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 2-month-old, you know, dragging them all into these open houses, trying to look at these houses. And yeah, it was a whirlwind. But even before we got to that point, we found a house that we mentioned to a friend of ours that we were looking to buy a house. And so he said, well, we have somebody in our neighborhood.
Yeah, he's like, I've got your house. I've
three,
got it.
three,
right up the
three doors
house.
down.
It's right
like,
up the
it's great.
For me.
Yeah, you can live right next to us. And so anyway, so she said, it's not even on the market. And she sends us pictures and like, this is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And it's like,
it really was.
considerably less than we were wanting to spend. But it seemed perfect and it was by our friends and all this stuff. So we start going down this path and ultimately kind of get to a negotiation, like off-market negotiation. And yeah, we made an offer and she just didn't like it and didn't respond.
Really respond.
And so it was like,
we weren't on the same page.
No counter, like nothing.
I guess.
And anyway, and it was a fair offer. Like we had talked to multiple real estate agents about the price and it was absolutely fair offer. Anyway, so we, that kind of fell through, which was a bummer. But then we're back to the drawing board again. And so we're going house to house to house, you know, and this is just, it's in the middle of summer. Like we're just, you know, it's a lot of work just looking for houses, but dragging the kids around.
Getting 3 kids in and out of car seats in the middle of summer, in and out, in and out, in and out. You're drenched.
Well, yeah, and when you're trying to look at like 3 open houses from 2 to 4 on Sunday and like squeezing it in there and racing from one to the next.
During nap time.
During nap time.
And nursing.
Yeah, it was. it was okay. Something. But we just
were
began.
Grateful for the opportunity.
We absolutely were. But it was a lot of work. So we just began kind of doing this week in and week out, and just nothing was coming up. And then finally, another one got listed that was in a great neighborhood.
Beautiful.
We were super excited. The house was gorgeous. It was at the top of our kind of price range, but it was in our price range, and so. Anyway, so we got really excited about it. We ended up putting an offer on that, and again, it was a really good offer. I want to say it was like $10,000 less than asking or something. I mean, anyway, it was a really good offer. But they came back and said they wanted $3,000 more than what we offered.
There was a bidding war going on the first day on the market. So, yeah, that's what was happening.
Is that what it was? Yeah. Anyway, so they say they want $3,000 more, or asked us if we could do that. And so they countered with that. And I was about to sign, and I just felt like the Lord said, wait. And I'm like, well, this is kind of the house. Like, should I really wait? Or, you know, we're trying to, come on, God, we're trying to get this thing.
So he said, let's just wait till the morning. Like, it was probably 9 o'clock at night or something. It was late. So it was late enough that it was like, that seems reasonable. And I said, let's go look at it one more time. Let's just go look at it one more time.
And that was it. That was all we needed. We went back and looked at it. We found a couple of things that were just like,
this isn't
I didn't see that before. And this is kind of a deal breaker.
Because we had only seen it at an open house.
Yeah. And so this allowed us to actually look around a little bit. Anyway, so we were really discouraged. Really you really struggled with that one. Mm-hmm. Because we were just already worn out and we felt like this was it. It was perfect in so many ways, or so we thought.
And then that other one in the Molnar's neighborhood. I forgot about that one. That was really hard.
Yeah, and so there were multiple of these where it felt like we're there.
So close.
And that, and every time that happens, you just get kind of more and more discouraged. And anyway, so after this one fell through, we were just really bummed, and I think we just kind of paused the search for a little bit, probably a week or two, and then. Because most of the time I was the one actually searching for the houses. I was the one looking on Zillow or whatever.
Well, and we were scheduled to go out. It was on a Monday morning. We were scheduled to go look at a house that honestly neither one of us were really interested in. But we're like, you never know what's going to happen. Let's just go look at it.
Yeah.
And as as we
While we
were
were getting ready or something.
Yeah,
right?
we were getting ready. Bob's just like scrolling through, and he finds another
A new
house.
one was listed like 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah, and he calls the real estate agent. He's like, I want to go see this house.
I kind of knew, like when I saw it, I kind of knew because it was so much different than anything we had seen, but it was like up our alley. It was stylistic what we wanted. I'm like, this says promise. I really want to see this. And so we came and saw this house about an hour and a half after they listed it.
I think the wife was at home, and I guess her husband got notified, and she didn't get notified, so she was like doing dishes.
She didn't even know it was.
She was like, "Oh, okay." So she wrangles her kids up, gets their dog, and leaves as fast as she can, which was so funny and so sweet.
Yeah.
Like there were dishes in the sink when we were looking at it. Like she was washing dishes, not like dirty dishes in the sink, but like soapy water.
But the house was like everything I thought from the pictures and even more. And so, long story short, we end up, putting an offer on the house, and then we put a full price offer on it because we just were so sold. We wanted it, and we wanted to, eliminate any chance of not getting it. And I thought that would be great and perfect, but they came back and they said they wanted to close like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, like, because they were building their own house. And we're like, oh, I don't know if we can wait that long. I don't know what we're going to do. And anyway, and so I forgot what happened. We didn't, they just ended up saying, no, yeah, we'll close. Like, we gave the close we wanted, which is like a month. We would prefer this. And
that's all we really said.
They said,
like, okay.
We're like, awesome, great. So we ended up closing on this house. And
it's this house.
And it's this house that we're in. And we'll tell you a little bit more about this in a minute. But so after we closed on this house, or after we signed a contract on this house, then we began trying to sell our other house that we were in, which we hadn't listed yet because we did not want to be in a position where we were showing that house while living there with the little kids. And we were just fortunate enough to not have to do that. Yeah. And so we didn't want to go through that.
You would have basically not worked at all.
Probably
that whole time.
Yeah, probably not.
And so we just couldn't do it at that point.
But what that did is it put, the clock had started. Like now that we had a contract down, like we needed to sell ours as soon as possible and get on the market as soon as possible, which we kind of had it market ready, but we needed to sell the thing as fast as possible because I didn't want, it was already getting late in the season. This was, by the time we got it up was...
September? I think it was September.
Yeah, So it's like we really didn't want to sit on this over the winter and have both of these houses. And so anyway, we got it up on the market as fast as we could. And the other part of this was we didn't know for sure because like we also have been blessed to have the previous house paid off. And so we really did not want to take any additional money here. Like we wanted to be able to...
You're shaking that thing and I don't want it to fall off. Yeah,
so. I don't want it to fall either. We've already had a camera fall.
Lift your elbows up.
It's going to be okay. So anyway, we really didn't want to be in a position where we had to take out a loan after we had already paid off the house. So we really were praying that we would sell the old house for more than we just paid. And we were pretty optimistic that we could, but we had no idea how much. Like the neighborhood that we were in just didn't sell a lot of houses, and so you just didn't know what was going to happen. So anyway,
not a lot of people were moving. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah.
So we listed this house, and what was I'm trying to think of the timeline here. So I'm trying to think when did we feel like? Yeah. So we listed the house, and then we got God's kind of crazy thing. Is that what it was? Mm-hmm. All right. So we listed the house. And it was like right after that, right? We felt like the Lord dropped this thing on our heart to give away $50,000. Now, and it kind of came out of the blue, kind of came out of left field, and we didn't have it. Like we didn't have the money,
right?
And so I'm like, well, the only place this could possibly come from is the sale of this house, but I don't know if we're going to sell it for enough. I don't know how it's going to work and all these things. But anyway, so we just kind of moved forward with that. And we're like praying that this house is going to we had already set the listing price, and I wasn't really expecting to get that because everybody's negotiating. But anyway, so we set list price, and then the house is on the market, and we start getting a lot of action. A lot of people are coming in, but no one's making an offer. And a couple of days go by, no one's making an offer, but a lot of people are going in. So it's good that we're getting movement, but we haven't had an offer yet.
Yeah.
And so then finally somebody puts in an offer, and they put an offer for asking price.
Asking price.
And we're like, awesome. And so we were so excited. Because ultimately,
we're like, whatever their terms are, done.
Yeah,
done.
Everything they wanted fixed, it's like, all right, fix it. Like, this is great. And so what that meant ultimately for us was that we were able to not only that provided us the $50,000 that we felt like we were supposed to give, so that was great. But then it also provided us enough to buy our van with cash, which was awesome.
Because we needed a new car. That old car, there's a video about it somewhere.
Yeah.
The air conditioner broke in the hottest September on record.
In Tennessee, yeah.
It was like, it was almost 100 degrees.
Yeah, it was a crazy summer.
Air conditioning.
But anyway, so we were able to replace that with cash, and then even some left over, like that we were able to have in our savings account. And, and I think the real blessing of the whole thing, because the timeline is all interesting, but the best blessing is, we ended up selling this house. Yeah, like on paper, that house was worth more than this house, but this house, at least 15 things is better for us right now than the other house. And
the previous owners were Christians, and so just coming here, it just feels good. Have you ever been in a place where you're like, oh, I just do not like the feel of this place? Yeah. And then in contrast, you go somewhere where you're like, it just feels peaceful and calm and lovely, and I just want to sit here forever.
And that's what this house has been.
And that's how this house feels. Yeah. It's amazing.
But it's like everything that we wanted in a house is here. So we got that.
The pool is like 2 doors down, which is also right next to the playground.
We have a playground right there. We have sidewalks. We have kids all over the neighborhood becoming friends with our kids. I'm trying to think. It's not there's no semis driving down the street, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic neighborhood. Like the way the house was designed is just so good.
Food trucks down by the pool.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because it's like support your local business and we don't have to cook, right?
Yeah. Anyway, point in this entire story is just how good God is and his way of kind of working things out. Mm-hmm. And so we got a massive upgrade in a house. We were able to give $50,000. Mm-hmm. We were able to get this van with cash, have money left over in a savings account for an emergency fund a little bit.
And honestly, we like this house better than I think we would have liked either of the other houses.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing, too. Yeah, I didn't even think
about
that.
There were a couple of things in those houses that it was like, well, it doesn't have quite everything, but it has these things, and that's really nice. And so we were kind of going to compromise, and they were way more expensive than this house.
Yep. And this house, the office in this house is like this office that we're in is like the perfect setup. Yeah. It's so far away, or it's just down a hall. It's away from the rest of the house, so it's so much quieter. Anyway, it's just been so good, such a blessing. And anyway, that's our encouragement to you that like God has these miracles for you. Mm-hmm. And
okay, a couple things to note here. Okay, first thing is, I saw a couple people comment like $50,000. We feel the same way you do. First of all, Yeah, we were like, oh, okay. But also, this was not our first time doing this. Like, he has walked us through several different things of like stretching us. So, I don't think there needs to be any fear of like, well, what if God asked me to do that tomorrow? Like, don't think of it that way. Like, he will get you there when you need to get there. And the other thing is, we didn't have that money. Like, that was not something, he dropped that in our heart. And I told Bob was like, I don't know where that money's going to come from. And I was like, if he is asking for that, then he's going to provide it, because like you can't give something that you don't have. If I don't have chocolate chip cookies, which I wish I did, but if I don't have chocolate chip cookies, I don't have any to give. But, so the Lord provided that money, and he told us before we got it that's where he wanted it to go. And I just love that he just gave us that heads up, so that when we actually got that money, it was more than we thought we were going to be getting, and we already knew what to do with it. So there wasn't a lot of guesswork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, it's just our prayer for you that you'd get to experience some of this amazingness.
Yeah.
Like it's, and I, like I don't understand why, like, but I know that part of it was the obedience component, and part of it was us not brushing off this willingness to give the $50K that he was asking us to. Now, he had kind of already provided the main blessing before that, but I do wonder, like, what would have happened if we would have sold it at asking price if we hadn't done that. Like, I don't know. But it's just, that's just, I think that's a story of our lives, just watching God do really cool things when you obey.
Yeah.
And we're just so grateful. We're so incredibly grateful for this house. It's been such a blessing already. We haven't even been here a year yet. And that's the thing. It's like, this is what God does. This is what he wants to be doing in your life, in our lives, and everybody's life.
Yeah.
And the opportunity is available for us. So just lean into it.
Yeah. Hold on. I feel like we're getting comments. Somebody asked, what did we do with the money? Well, we both had something on our heart of where we were wanting to give, and we were trying to figure out how much to give, and that's where it came from. He did need to provide it. But that's not, have you ever heard that saying, blessed to be a blessing? Like, it's kind of this cliche thing, but it's like the Lord blesses us in order for us to be able to be a blessing to other people and to give out of the abundance of what we have. And I think that is financial, but I think it goes so far beyond that also.
Yeah.
I think that's spiritual, emotional, hormonal,
it all, right?
All those things.
Yeah.
So we love that.
So, anybody have any questions? Like, we were just kind of wanting to tell a story tonight and just give a little bit of our testimony here.
He is punctual to the moment. He is never before his time.
That's good.
He is never behind. Charles
like that,
Spurgeon.
Jeanette.
Yes, that's
good.
so good.
I'm trying to see what other questions here. Yeah. Appreciate the encouragement, everybody.
I know.
It was really, really cool thing.
We feel encouraged by it. It feels like something, it's really fun being like living through a miracle. I'm sure you all have stories like this where you're like, I cannot claim any credit for this. Where you just watch God do things, and it's, you're like, this is like watching a movie of someone else's life, Yeah. But it's so cool when you get to be part of it.
Yeah.
In financial terms, the Lord's investment in you was returned for his glory. Releasing that money according to his will is a test of faith and a show of trust in him. Amen.
Amen.
That's
Thank
true. Thank you for sharing.
Cottrell, he gives provision for his vision for your life. I like that. That's good.
There's a couple other ones.
Yeah, I can't read these really well.
I know.
Can you read them?
I can try and read them. Oh gosh.
Get them.
Real close up here. Did God put it in both of your hearts at the same time, or did the other went with what God told them?
I don't remember that. Do you remember how that went?
And somebody says this story is blessing me.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I don't remember how it went down. Who got what first?
I had an idea. I was like, I kind of have a crazy idea, and I proposed my idea, and you were like, mine's crazier. Actually, we were both praying about it. We were like, we knew we wanted to give towards a certain thing, and we were like, let's just pray about it and see what we both get. Bob's idea was definitely crazier. He was like, my idea is crazier, and I was like, really? Okay, well, let's hear it.
And Linda is the 7 on the Enneagram, who it really comes in handy when it comes to giving, because I'm
always up for a good time.
Like she's just all in. Like,
I am all in with giving. The Lord has provided for us in so many ways leading up to this point that it's like, why would I say no to this?
Yeah.
And I just was listening to a book today, and they were talking about generosity in this book, and like the way God does it is just different than the way that the world does it. And so she was pointing to stewardship and how we've got this mandate to be good stewards, but I think a lot of times we leave out this huge component of giving. Like giving is such a huge component of being a good steward.
Yeah.
Like the world thinks that it's a good steward to hoard money and to, if you know, I can get one up on this guy so that I'll get a better deal than he will. And that's just not the way God does it. God is like, here, keep your hands open so that things can pour into you and pour out of you at the same time. Please share the name of the book, Lisa. It is.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
It's great. I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I just love that idea of like good stewardship is actually giving and not hoarding.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so good. All right, you gonna share the book?
The book is The Opposite Life by Alex Seeley, and she's our pastor.
Yeah.
And I really like her.
Uh,
She and her husband Henry are our pastors.
Yep. All right.
I think.
All right.
Storing our treasure up in heaven. Amen.
Lisa says, I'm afraid to give money away. Does that make sense? Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Most people are.
Yeah.
And being completely honest, like I am, like oftentimes I was afraid to do that. Like I want, I talk about this a lot. I mean, this is kind of this struggle, or I don't know if struggle is the right word, but the balance point of, we have a biblical mandate to take care of our families, financially. Like we have a biblical obligation to do that. But at the same time, if we're in a position where we are trusting in our ability to take care of our family better than or more than God, that's when we're getting off a little bit, And that's something, and I don't know if it's like this for all guys, but for me, like I really take that burden. I don't know if burden's the right word to say, but take that responsibility of providing for my family very strongly. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be a slacker. Like I want to do my job and provide for my family. And for me, a lot of times it comes too much down to trying to do things in my own strength. And meanwhile, God is saying, listen, you can trust me that I'm going to work through you, and then I'm going to take care of your family, and I'm going to take care of your employees. I'm going to take care of everybody, And that's really difficult for me. And so like one of the things I err on sometimes is trying too hard to maybe build a big savings account to protect from every single possible thing that could go wrong and make sure the emergency fund is big enough so that we can insulate ourselves from any problem. Mm-hmm. And that makes it hard and scary for me to give away big chunks of money like this, And so it's not uncommon.
Because that was a security
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was
us.
Yeah, but like laying that down and choosing to trust in the Lord, our source and sufficiency, who's so much bigger than any bank account, any job, any government stimulus package, or anything else. Like God is the one who we can trust in. And so, you're not alone in that. I think most people are. But even in the midst of that, even with those fears, like we can turn those over to the Lord and we can step out in generosity and give in the midst of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think part of there's so many people focusing on not having enough money, like, and that's okay. Like there's a lot of need in the world. There's a lot of just even us rich Americans. Like let's consider us all rich because according to the statistics of the entire world, we're all doing pretty well for ourselves. But there's still a lot of need here, and like having a home, like what society tells us is normal. There's a lot of need in that. It's like you want to have a home, you want to have a nice home, you want to feed your family well, all those things. But it's okay that there's need there, but also like we just want to shine a light on trusting in the Lord and letting Him take care of us in the way that He does. And it's so much better than the way we can do it for ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like the testimony that's there and that's available for everyone too,
Yeah, and I think that's the blessing that comes out of it that so many people miss out on. Because until Peter would not have had the opportunity, the blessing of that miracle of walking on the water unless he would have stepped out of the boat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If I'm in his shoes, I'd be really scared. Like, Jesus, you're telling me to come, but that's water, man. Like, I know you're standing on it, but why should I be able to stand on it? And that would have been a really scary thing to do. But because he had the boldness to do it, the other guys didn't.
I was going to say, do you think Peter was a 7?
I don't know.
Or an 8?
I don't know. Maybe an 8. But because he had the boldness to do that, he got to experience that miracle and that blessing that the other guys didn't.
Yeah.
And
if we had not given that money, I don't think that we'd be cursed. We certainly would still be going to heaven. Like, we had that choice that we could make. But we were able to see it for what it is, and I know that the Lord is just going to take care of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've
Far
we've
beyond
already
what we could
seen
have
so
taken
much
care of
come out of it
ourselves.
already.
Yeah.
And Matt, you're exactly right. It is his money. It's absolutely all God's money. That's a whole nother thing we can go down. But, a lot of people think, this is one of my pet peeves, if you will. Like, I'm all for giving 10%. I think that's great. But a lot of people get to that point and rest on their laurels. And it's like, all right, this is my 10%, God. Or I get 90%, God, you get 10%. That's it. No more. That's yours. And the reality is, it's all God's money. Everything is his.
Well,
and
the money, but also, like, we want our hearts to be his.
Yeah.
And if we cannot serve two masters, God and money, if we cannot serve two, we're going to serve one. So by being fluid with money and letting it come and go and not letting it decide what we're going to do with our lives, we are just keeping our heart towards him, right?
Yeah.
We're continually giving him our heart.
Yeah, and I mean, one more thing to add here is that this is something that you grow in over time. Like, this has been a very a long and slow process for us. Like, we have been I think we, both have the spiritual gift of giving. I think it's something that is hardwired in our DNA and who God made us to be. I think it's part of our calling. And so, so we have that, but within that, like, we both have had to grow through a lot of selfishness, a lot of our own things. And like, they're painful. They're painful to grow through, but we are just determined to continue to grow in that as much as we possibly can. And to better understand what it means to let it all be his. Because like I said, it's easy that I just say that it's all his. But it's really hard to live that out. And we are not living that out to the degree that I want to yet,
Yeah.
Like, we're making steps and we're making progress and we're having, testimonies like what we just shared tonight.
We'll never get there until we're in heaven.
But we're going to try to go as far as we possibly can, Like, I want to just keep trusting God more and more and not trusting in money.
Yeah. Another thing I was going to tell you, Lisa, is conduct an experiment. What if you just experimented? What if you went, okay, God, I'm going to give whatever's on your heart, and give it in a place that's easy for you to give. Like, I'm going to purposefully give this and trust you, and see what if you just did it and saw what happened? Like, just let it go.
Yep.
Okay, someone else, I think Cottrell on Instagram, was asking what book I read during my sabbatical. I think you're talking about the prayer book. And that was Secrets to Powerful Prayer by Patsy Camenetti and Lynn Hammond.
Yep.
Secrets to Powerful Prayer. Is it in here?
It might be laying around somewhere. I'm not sure.
Is it down here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's a great book, too.
So, anyway.
Okay.
All right. Well,
you guys are
thank you all for coming and
for
hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate you all. And we will be back tomorrow night. And we are going to talk about, tomorrow is...
Well, rest.
Well, yeah. So I want to talk about how I took a year off of social media and some of the lessons learned from that.
Kim, that's awesome. Just reading your comment.
We will see y'all tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.